All right, everybody, welcome back to Clicks and Bricks. This is episode number 37, where we talk about business and technology. If you like business and technology, smash that like and subscribe button at the bottom so that you get our shows every week. And starting in August, 4 days a week, maybe 5. We're struggling on getting that 5th one in. But starting August 2nd, we're going to do Tuesdays is going to stay Q&A. So this episode is a Q&A episode. Thursdays is going to be a deep dive, and then Monday and Wednesdays are going to be just headline news. So we're just going to talk about stuff that's going on in the industry and in business in general on those other 2 days of the week. So super excited about getting to doing the podcast 4 days a week. And if we get to the 5th, well, we will get to the 5th day. I just don't know it's going to be August. Might be September at the latest, I think, before we start doing 5 days a week. But then we're going to do the business spotlight. So we're going to be spotlighting a person or a business every week on Fridays. If you want to be involved and you want to be interviewed for the business spotlight, go to clicksandbricks.tv. At the top, there's a link, and you can subscribe to be on there. And Nick and Dustin are working really hard right now on figuring out the entire process. How do we get the interview done? How do we get you on Zoom? How do we get you added to the podcast? And how do we make sure that you get as much benefit out of this podcast as we do? So super excited about all the changes that are coming for Clicks and Bricks. We just hit a milestone of I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, we hit the 1,000 listeners per month. So super excited about that growing. We just got to 10 times that, and then 10 times that, and then 10 times that, and we'll be where we want to be. So thank you for joining the podcast and watching on YouTube, Twitch, wherever you watch it at. It doesn't really matter to us where you get the content from, as long as you're getting some value from it, learning, and continuing to move forward. We appreciate it. Today's Between the Cubes. I've not really been in the office very much. As you can see, my arm's in this really fancy state-of-the-art sling. I had another shoulder repair surgery done. I did my right shoulder last year, and I did my left shoulder on Wednesday of last week. So after last week's live episode, the next morning I went and did a rotator cuff repair surgery. They did a whole bunch of stuff. I'll be in the sling for a couple more weeks. But if you don't know this, my hobby on my side life is boxing. So I really love the sport of boxing and everything that it brings to my life and all the people that I get to help with that. So, but with those hobbies, we have injuries and we have to deal with those and repair ourselves. So anyway, moving right on from Clicks and Brick, moving right on from the Between the Cubicles onto the rest of the episode. If you want to join my text line community, I'm not sure if I already said this, 314-370-2871. And today's episode is sponsored by Inlink.com. My Inlink.com account is inlink.com/Ken, K-E-N. It's one profile. You have one URL you give out to anybody, and it has all of your different social media profiles, your Cash App, your LinkedIn business, your LinkedIn personal, your Facebook business page, your web page, everything in one nice, easy to navigate interface. So you give that user that one URL out. You can put it on your business cards, on your website, wherever you want, and then all your users have one place to go to see all of your different social media profiles. It's a really great tool. Right now it's totally free. There is one add-on that you can do to get your blue check box. It's $20 a year. Super cheap, I think. Is that right, Nick? $30 a year. Okay. But they're coming out. I know that Inlink.com just hired a whole new development team, and new features are on the way. So Inlink.com, rapport made easy. Go get your name before it's gone. So moving on to question number 1, scalability for your business. I think I ought to name this episode Scaling Your Business, but words are words. Words are hard. So we'll just get right into it. John from Cincinnati asks, I've been reading lately about how moving to the cloud can help you scale your business. Can you speak on any knowledge you have about whether or not that's true? Yeah, absolutely, it's true. And you may or may not know it already. You're already using cloud applications, right? If you use email, you're using cloud applications. If you have a website, you're using cloud services to distribute that website to your users. If you're using anything that's not inside your building, software-wise, you're using cloud applications. So really, moving to the cloud, what does that mean? It means a lot of things. So the first, how I take is moving your infrastructure to the cloud. So if I've got a business that's running 5 I recommend people at 5 employees to start using Active Directory or centralized authentication. There's new tools coming out to replace Active Directory right now. I'm not way in deep in that piece, but centralized authentication is vital for all of your business needs. I know there's some new stuff out there. I think one of them's called Kong that does a different kind of authentication, lets people use their Gmail but authenticate inside your systems. I'm not 100% positive of that. But I recommend at 5 users you start using centralized authentication because you're going to keep going, right? You're going to keep adding new employees and things like that. You got to be able to lock them out. So your authentication system, your file server system where you're keeping all of your data, your spreadsheets, if you have any kind of intellectual property, where are you storing that? Are you storing it? I would not recommend storing any intellectual property inside Google's cloud, right, in the Google Drive or the Dropbox cloud, right? So I would own that myself. It's your intellectual property, and I've never really read the terms and services of Google Drive, and I've never read them of Dropbox either. But I'm pretty sure they have the rights to read your content, right? They hide all that stuff. It's a big, long legal document. They definitely have computers reading your documents, and you don't really know where the data is stored. So it's all over the world. So for intellectual property, your internal spreadsheets, stuff like that, I highly recommend internal storage. So when I think about moving to the cloud, I think about taking the servers that are inside my office today and moving them to cloud infrastructure. So making those physical servers virtual and moving them into a data center. And you can do that a lot of different ways. One way we do that is called co-location. It's probably the lowest cost way to get into the cloud. You literally take your physical servers and you move them into a data center like Hosterian, or there's not a whole lot of colo companies left. I don't feel like pure colo companies. But there are a lot of colocation.com has a whole list of them. Hosterian's one of them. But it's just taking your servers, putting them in the data center, and then accessing them through an IP address instead of on your local network. One way to do it. Another way to do it is, we sell just a whole private cloud. You buy a terabyte of RAM, 20 or 30 cores of processor, and 2 terabytes of storage, and then you just load your virtual machines inside of there. Move over, and we migrate to the cloud. We migrate business to the cloud at no charge if you're buying it. If you're buying the cloud from us, we will not move you to other people's clouds for free, obviously. But I think that's when I think of moving to the cloud. That's what I think of when we do it a lot for law offices, and rural hospitals is our 2 biggest clients that we do this stuff for a lot. They have servers and infrastructure at their location. We go in, we do a diagnostic, we make sure we know what they need, and then we take those resources and we move them to the cloud. We put a device in their building called a VPN aggregator, and then all the servers appear like they did the day before inside their network, but they're really in the data center in a cloud. That's the easiest way to move to the cloud. I think what most people end up doing, or what most businesses are going to do, is have a mixed system. They're going to have some servers in their building. They're going to have some in a private cloud. They're going to have some in a public cloud. So it really depends on your need and what you're doing. If you just have one server that's a data server, you could go to Amazon and spin up a virtual server in Amazon AWS cloud and move your data there. Amazon is really expensive for their servers, especially if you have dedicated resources. So if you know how much resources you need, there are a lot more affordable solutions than Amazon's cloud. So anyway, absolutely, you can get more productivity by moving to the cloud. I think the one cloud application that I get the most benefit out today, and it is a Google product, but it's called Google Sheets. And just the ability to have multiple people across the world working on the same spreadsheet. And I've got spreadsheets now that are, thousands and thousands of lines long, hundreds of tabs, crazy amounts of data in a spreadsheet. Whereas 5 years ago, I probably would have said, there's no way I'm going to have an Excel spreadsheet that big, but Google Docs has just really, really come a long way. It's a super powerful tool. I would say it's almost as powerful as SQL, but you don't need to know SQL. You need to know rough Excel, right? But then you can Google just about anything you need to do. Create a pivot table, do equations inside Google Sheets. You can do. To me, that's, I think, the number one cloud application that has been the best benefit to me personally. Outside of that, moving law offices and small hospitals or small doctors' offices into the cloud, our private cloud has been a really good solution for them. The law offices lately, we've been doing it because, and I don't know if there's I'm sure there's other industries out there, just we've been dealing with law offices mostly for this particular cases. They're not going back to the office, right? They are a father-son law office. They decided, hey, we're not going to go back to the office. We're going to work from home moving forward. We close down that building. We bring their servers into the data centers. We virtualize them all. We give them VPN aggregators at their house or a VPN tool on their desktop. They VPN in. They get all their files. Everything's nice and secure. We run malware detection on them. We run antivirus detection. They're in the data center. We're monitoring all the time. We're monitoring the air conditioner. We're monitoring the power. We're monitoring everything about the entire environment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's a really good thing. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've worked anywhere but Hosterian, but I know that previous jobs I would walk in, every job that I've had prior to Hosterian, there was at least 1 or 2 days that I'd walk in and nobody was doing anything because the servers were down or the network was down or something. And I recall working at a company that had a couple hundred employees, and I pull in that morning and 100% of the staff is outside, right? They're just outside goofing off, playing Frisbee and stuff. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, the network's down. Nobody's doing anything. So if you own a business, you have 100% of your employees that you're paying doing nothing, you know it's a bad deal. So monitoring and getting your equipment back up is running as soon as possible is wildly important. John, I hope that answers your question. It's kind of vague. So I tried to get some context in there for you, some different solutions on what moving to the cloud might mean to different people. Moving on to Karen from Missouri. How you doing, Karen? Thank you for asking a question. I might not be thanking you after I read the question because it's a long one. Can outsourcing services help you scale your business? For example, my current company is wanting to add a service in which we write articles for customers. However, some of the company thinks there's no way we would be able to afford enough writers to do so. I've heard of some websites that could possibly do this for you. Have you heard of? So yeah, we outsource copyright. Like, we don't outsource 100% of our copywriting, but we outsource a decent amount of it. And outsourcing is huge. I don't do it. I try not to outsource as much as possible, but I definitely will outsource in a couple of different scenarios. I will outsource if I don't currently have the talent on staff to execute my desired outcome, right? So for a long time, and I'll go super simple, for a long time we had outsourced housekeeping in our building. And we have 2 buildings, they're both right at 26,000 square feet. So we're running at about 51,000 square feet of total space that I manage for Hosterian. And before, we had an outsourced cleaning company doing our cleaning, and it was okay, right? I was paying a lot of money, but I wasn't getting everything that I really wanted. I didn't have people that really cared. So, and when I say a lot, I wasn't paying that much. Those cleaning services are pretty affordable. But I already have an infrastructure for payroll. I have an infrastructure for human resources. I have an infrastructure for hiring. And we owned a lot of the equipment anyway that they used to clean. So not only did we save about 66% on our cleaning costs, like our labor costs of outsourcing that to a third person, insourcing it, and we did have to, it took some time. We had to find the right team, the right people, and now they're on shift. They work every day, 5 days a week. But it is more affordable for me to have an employee because I already have all those resources for my office cleaning that it would be to outsource it. And two things that I really like about owning that process versus outsourcing it. One, I get what I want, right? They're my employees. They're not some third party. So I don't have this issue of out of scope, right? It's like, hey, I need the baseboards cleaned in the whole building, every 6 months. Like, I need somebody to touch them every 6 months. Well, with the outsourced company, they're like, oh, that's not in scope. I'm like, But if they just did, like, if they took an hour a night extra and did it, they wanted to charge me some astronomical fee to add baseboard wiping once a quarter to my quote. And with my own staff, right, it adds so little money, right? It's ridiculously affordable with my own staff to add new things like that. So you don't have the out of scope problem when you do it yourself. You do have the problem of sick time, vacation time, people not showing up. So you have to build in redundancies, which we talked about last week, in your staff if you're going to own that process and it's important to you. A clean office is very, very important to me. It's up there with a data center that's online all the time, right? So it's as important to me as the generators, as the UPS batteries, as everything else. So I outsource when I'm trying things. So, and then I build the process, and then I take that outsourcing and I bring it in-house to get it more affordable, which very similar to the cloud. I use hyperscale clouds when I'm deploying a new load that I'm not sure about the workload. And whenever I know what resources I need, then I move into a more economical solution, which would be a dedicated or private cloud, because I know what resources I need. And if you know what resources you need, they're more affordable than whenever you have this wildly scalable cloud solution. We'll keep that solution though, because both of them are viable in different case scenarios. For the copywriter, we use a copywriting service. On the copywriting outsourcing, I would still recommend having a writer in-house that can, one, manage your outsourced team, and two, proofread everything to make sure it's still in your company voice. Make a, what do we call our marketing deck? Our marketing deck? Marketing guidelines? Like, we have a whole, it's like our marketing Bible, right? It says everything that we're going to do. And just like all Bibles, we don't follow it by 100%, but we try, right? There's times we forget pieces of that marketing Bible, things like that. But for the most part, we don't have to think about, if we're going to use an image, what colors we need to use. If we're going to talk in a tone, what tone we're going to use, right? Because we've already defined all those things. And if you define all of those things before you outsource something, when you're outsourcing it, if you can hand them some kind of document that says, hey, this is what we're looking for, it goes a lot better. On outsourcing copywriting, where we've had the most luck, and Nick can probably give me a heads up, nods yes to this, is we buy PLR articles, which is public licensed, I forget what the R stands for.
I don't think it's report. But
Yeah, so PLR, and we use a site called plr.me, no affiliation. I can buy a whole bunch of articles, white papers, infographics and things like that. They're not very unique, and they're very dull, right? It's like a just the facts man kind of article. So we'll take that article and we'll buy it. It's relatively affordable, and then we'll send that to the copywriter and say, hey, take this article, put some analogies in it about this city or this scenario, and write around this article, but keep the technical stuff that's in this article relevant still. It still then goes back to Nick for proofreading and all that stuff. That's been the most successful strategy that we've used in outsourcing copywriting. And we use Foxy. We use plr.me and Foxy and a couple of the third outsourced copywriters for all of those things. So, and I think totally outside of Nick's payroll, paying like $550 a month probably to get, and we got a lot of content, right? The content you see us put on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter is maybe 10% of the content that we actually have that we've created. So, which tells me we need to be more aggressive about posting stuff. But anyway, so we're gonna pause for a second. We're gonna go into Today in Tech History, 7/20. July 20th. Is today the 20th? Is it really? I thought it was the 19th all day. So only 10 days left this month. Is it 31-day month or 30-day month? 31.
30, I think.
No, it's June, July, right? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, it's 31. July and August are 31s. You know that knuckle trick?
Yeah.
The knuckles are the 31 days and the divots are the less than 31 days?
Yeah.
Huh? But you got to double up on the pinky knuckle. So it's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. July and August have 31 days. September, October, November, December. So knuckles are 31 days. If you're wondering why I was counting my knuckles to figure out how many days were this month, that's why. So there's your value for the day. You need a quick way to know how many days are in a month. And February is the weird one. Anyway, Intel was founded in 1968. Wow, that's cool. Robert Noyce, Andy Grove, and Gordon Moore incorporate Intel in Santa Clara, California to build the microprocessors. That's huge, right? So 1968. I guess, I was born in 75, and I grew up in a time where I don't ever remember there not being computers, right? I remember they were there. There's we'd never have a computer in our house when I was young. But then by the time I got 14, I had one. We had a computer lab at school. And that was cool, but they weren't microprocessors, right? They were microprocessors at that time. They weren't multi-functional processors. They were single-use processors at that time, for me at least, when I was a kid, when I was a young kid. So they'd have one task, right? You could write one program and execute it. You'd have a single processor that would process that data. So with the microprocessor, huge, right? We get away from tubes in computers. Computers go from warehouse-sized computers to handheld computers, right? I mean, we call it a phone today, but it's really just a computer, right? It's RAM, processor, storage, and an operating system. So that's all. 1968. I don't think I realized that Intel was incorporated that long ago. So, but anyway, thanks a lot, guys. You did it, and most of the greats that we talk about wouldn't be here without the microprocessor. Wouldn't even have the software we have today because there would be nothing to run it. So, I think we turn our nose down at hardware manufacturers and hardware in general quite often, and we really love the software piece of it. And as more stuff's moving to the cloud, I think we're seeing less of the hardware side of it and more of the software side. Because people don't have... Does everybody have a computer in their house now, like a desktop a workstation?
Yeah, so.
You think everybody still does, or you think that's phasing out already?
I don't think everyone. I was just saying I do.
Right. I think for a long time it was really popular that everybody had a room in their house or in the kitchen that have a desktop computer, and everybody would flock to it. I think that's dying. Right, so that tells me also desk sales are probably dying too, right? Because people don't need desks anymore. They can just use their tablet or their phone wherever they're at. I'm a pretty heavy computer user, and I don't use my computer at home unless I'm working on a specific project 20 minutes a day, right? I wake up, I check my email on my computer, and then before I go to bed, I might check my email again. So before my glasses are on and when I take them off, I have to use my computer. I can't use my phone anymore. And I'm super ritualistic, so I'm such a weird guy. I think I'm weird. Probably a lot of weird people out there too do the same shit. I get home at 10 o'clock, I take my glasses off because my eyes hurt, and I can watch TV and stuff without them, but I can't read my phone, I can't read print, but I can still read my computer and stuff. But for some reason, I won't go put my glasses back on after 10. I'll go to my desk and sit and work, which is weird, but I think it's weird. Is that weird, Sam?
Sounds like routine to me.
Routine? Yeah. It's hard for me to break routine. I like change, but change isn't always good, and my routines are my routines, and they make me comfortable. So anyway, moving on. Jimmy, thank you, Intel, 1968. Great work. Jimmy asks, if I'm wanting to start a business, all right, good job, and I have an idea that I think could be great, but it's very difficult to scale, do you think that is an issue? Should I shy away from business ideas that would be harder to scale? Totally depends on what you want to do, right? I would argue that a business that's hard to scale, but you think you got the chops to do it, would be a great business to get into, right? Because you have a barrier to entry. When we started Hosterian in 2000, the barrier to entry for a hosting company was very high, right? You had to have a data center, because there was no data centers you could just go buy, or you could go buy a data center. But there wasn't a whole lot of data centers you could rent space in '99. So we had to have data centers, we had to have servers, we had to have infrastructure, we had to have a whole lot of things. Now you have companies like us and Amazon that you can go to and buy a server and spin up a hosting company very, very quickly, right? So data center business is a bigger barrier to entry, harder to scale, so it's a little more stable business. So if you're in a business that's hard to scale, you have a more defendable position if you know how to scale it. If you don't know how to scale it, get the hell out and leave that to the professionals, right? It just depends on what you want to do. I do have a story about a business that me and my wife started about 14 years ago, I guess. And we shut it down after just 2 years. My daughter was born and we started a company called classycups.com, and we made cupcakes. And she loved baking, and what we were looking for was a nice job for my wife that had extremely flexible schedule, because we were hell-bent on having a stay-at-home mom for our children until they got to at least elementary school, because we just believed that the fundamentals around being really involved at that age is going to help us. It was a good investment for us long-term. For my daughter, for sure. For my son, maybe not. Who knows? He's a hellion, wild boy. You'll get to learn more about him on my podcast that starts late August. So we wanted to start a company that was really flexible. We controlled all the hours. I told her, hey, I come home every day. I'm mad at my boss. I don't need to hear you bitching about your boss too. So we really didn't want a boss situation where we had to deal with the dynamics of multiple people in our lives. So we started this little bitty company called classycups.com. Every Friday, we would deliver a dozen cupcakes to your business, right? You set it up for a subscription, and every Friday you got a dozen cupcakes delivered to you. And it was intended to be a very flexible job that she could have and, be in control of her own destiny. And it scaled pretty quick, right? On accident. This is the power of having a single product and really knowing who your customer is and being able to communicate it well. We got it to about $80,000 a year in the first year. And then we were running it. And then what we realized is that we had about 80 grand in revenue. We were making good money, right? Probably 100% margins, right? Or 100% markup on probably way more than that. But after all expenses, so about 40,000 profit, 100% profit on all of that stuff. But for us to get to the next level, right? And then it started interfering with my job. Because now, there was times she get like a 300 cupcake, 300 orders on a Friday that had to be delivered. And now, she's not home all the time. She's always at the, what did I call that earlier, Nick?
I forget.
It starts with a C. Yeah. Anyway, we rented a kitchen, right? That she could go to and bake all the baked goods to pass health codes. And she was there, now showing up on Wednesdays, Tuesdays there to make sure that all the orders were fulfilled for Fridays, and then renting a truck and all this other stuff. So it got to the point to where we said, hey, we wanted this to be a hobby. We did not want to scale this business. We were going to run this business for 4 or 5 years because we knew what we wanted long term, and it wasn't a cupcake business. It wasn't a little bakery. She enjoyed baking, so we're like, hey, this is a good way for you to make some cash, and we didn't really want to make our investment until both kids were in school, which would be 10 years later, right? Now we have a boxing gym, and we're building our other line of business within that. So that was a situation to where for us to scale to the next level, we'd have to sign a long-term lease at a building, because the kitchen that we were renting was it was a mixed-use kitchen. Multiple people were using it, and we didn't have exclusive rights to it. So we needed to have exclusive rights. We needed to buy trucks. So it was going to be, we put it together, it was going to be about $200,000 that we're going to have to put in to bring it from an $80,000 a year business. And we were rocking it. It could have been easily a couple $1 million a year business without too much issue. The problem was it wasn't what we wanted to do. So we decided to just shut it down. We fulfilled all of our orders. We told everybody, hey, it's been great doing business with you. This really isn't what we want to do. So we're just going to shut this business down and go on with our lives. It was on a lot of different levels. It was wildly successful. It grew really fast. We could have scaled it to the next level, but we just simply didn't want to, right? And there was going to be some challenges of hurdling it, right, and growing and scaling it, because we're going to have to take out loans. We're going to have to put our house up. We're going to have to do all that other stuff. So there would have been challenges to scale. And at the end of the day, I'm going to say every business is hard to scale. When you go from, no employees to one employee, that's a big jump, right? You have a lot of things to learn. And then from 1 to probably 5 employees, because now you're probably dealing with friends and family still, you're cruising right along. You get to 7, 8, 10 employees, new shit starts appearing in your life, right? You have conflicts of interest. You've got Democrats and Republicans in the same office. You've got, wildly liberal people with conservative people, and all of these new dynamics that you're dealing with. And you're dealing with people who have bad days, right? They're just not very productive when they have bad days. And you're learning how to be a manager along with all of these things. So scaling any business is hard, and you're going to have these milestones, right? Once you're, past the 5 employees, 5 to 10, that's kind of a hurdle. And then really 10, I think, to 50 is okay, right? That's a good growth tranche. And then when you hit 50 employees, it's a whole nother set of issues, right? So you want to stay at 49 for a while, because once you're at 50, you have OSHA regulations, you've got all kinds of new issues. So anybody that tells you scaling a business is easy is lying to you, right? I heard a great quote today. Everybody that runs a business is like, hey, this is super simple. I'm crushing it over here. The quote that I heard today, I loved it. It was in a Tony Robbins book. Actually, I guess I read it today. Was everybody, you don't know who's naked until the tide runs out, right? Who's swimming naked until the tide goes down. So everybody's out there doing their thing. They're having a great time, but you don't know who's really successful and who's not, who's struggling to scale, who's not struggling to scale. And I would argue that anybody that's running a business today that's scaling it, they have challenges, and they have lots of challenges. If it's not the technology, it's the HR. If it's not the HR, then it's infrastructure. And if it's not any of those, it's a little bit of all of those, right? So scaling's hard. It's hard work. If it wasn't hard work, everybody would be running billion-dollar businesses, right? So, but if it is a hard business to scale and you know it is, and you think you can do it, it is a very, very defendable position until it's not hard to start anymore, right? Uber started the biggest taxi cab company in the world with software, right? They didn't have to buy any cars. They didn't have to, buy the insurance and stuff like that. But they still had problems scaling it, and they still are having problems scaling that business, right? If you've ordered Uber Eats in the last 3 months, you know that the prices have quadrupled, I think. It's been pretty bad. So they're running into an issue where they have to incentivize drivers to go get the food, get it to you. So, all right. This is kind of weird, Nick. Do I do the bonus question now? You have 5 questions, or what's this last one?
The last one was just a promo for our new schedule.
Oh, okay. I did that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, you can hit the bonus now.
All right, so we'll do the bonus question. Run a little bit over, but we don't have really hard timelines here. This is the internet. This isn't broadcast TV, so we can do whatever the hell we want. Bonus question. Alan asks, thoughts on the crypto market? Haven't talked about it in a while on the show, so I was curious about your thoughts. This is the things that I think I know and what I'm living my life by right now. I think that blockchain and NFTs change the world fundamentally on how we're going to do business and how we're going to live in the future. I think cryptocurrency is going to help us change the future. I think I know that anybody in the past 10 years that has bought any cryptocurrency, any popular, not popular even, any kind of cryptocurrency that has some kind of functionality behind it, other than Bitcoin and Litecoin, which are kind of the 2 staple coins, gold and silver, the crypto world. If you want to call them that, you can. If not, you can call them Bitcoin and Litecoin. They don't have a lot of fundamentals. And when I say fundamentals, the most common fundamental would be smart contracts. And Ethereum does this really well. Mavic does this really well. Polygon, I'm putting a lot into Polygon. I like it a lot. I think it's one of the better deployments. If they don't have some kind of functionality, a game, right? I play Alien Wars, and I'm looking at this new game. I don't even know the name of it off the top of my head. Anybody that's held those coins for 4 years has changed their lives. So, my advice, and I'm not a financial advisor at all, take what you're willing to lose and buy some cryptocurrency. Buy the big hitters. I like Mavic. I like Polkadot. I like Uniswap. Those are three of the kind of altcoins that I really like. I love audio coins. I think are going to be huge. I think if they can really pull it off and make audio recording an NFT using audio coins, I mean, Eminem and this, I can't think of McDonald guy, Tom McDonald, I think, bought the Eminem NFT song and wrote a song on top of it, so he gets to say produced by Eminem instantly, right? Those are huge moves. An artist, a musician 2 years ago could have never gotten access to an Eminem track that he could use and write a song on top of. Wasn't even around, right? Just 2 years ago. So, and that's already happening today, right? So he buys that NFT. He spent $100,000 on an NFT track from Eminem, published it, and like instantly had 2 million. Like in a couple of days, had 2 million views on YouTube. So he's getting his money back on that song that he ended up writing the lyrics for, but it's Eminem's song. So I believe cryptocurrency is our future still. I still believe it. I am holding. I'm not doing anything but holding right now and growing. So I'm buying Bitcoin every single week. I'm buying Ethereum every single week. I am staking my Ethereum to Ethereum 2 so that I get interest on it. If anything else, if you just store your cryptocurrency inside, there's a couple coins that are paying you 5% interest. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word interest. It's a pretty basic one. On them as well. So, I mean, if you're just looking to get 5% interest, then that's a great way to do it as well. I love the new, it's not new, but it's kind of new to me. When I was in cryptocurrency, big was 2016, 2012 to 2016. Was really, really engrossed in crypto. I got out in 16, which is the biggest mistake of my life. Had I just held for 4 years, I'd be a rich man today. And that's why my advice to you is if you have some spare money, you're okay with losing it, put it in the market, see where it's going. Right now, everybody's running from crypto, and I think that's the time to run in, right? I like running into fires when everybody's running out. I think that's the best time in the world to get great deals. If you buy Bitcoin today, you're buying it 50% off of what it was last month. So that now is the time to buy. Maybe not now, because we're still dropping. But I think, and I didn't really know, I've been driving around a lot today with doctor's appointments and stuff. Did we take a big stock market hit too? Yesterday was a big stock market hit. So
Bounced back way up today, though.
did it? Okay, so it was a dead bounce.
Yeah, but yesterday was.
Yeah. So I'm not a financial advisor by far, but I'll bet everything I have on the fact that blockchain, NFTs, and smart contracts are going to change the way we all do business in the future. And we're just at the very, very beginning. People don't even know what NFTs are yet, right? They're non-fungible tokens, which is basically everything in your life, right? This is just a digital non-fungible token. Your car is a non-fungible item, right? So this is a contract that you can put in the digital world on physical assets or things. Gary Vee did his NFT drop, and he has like some of his NFTs. If you buy them, you get to go like have breakfast with Gary Vee and shits. Weird, but I don't know if breakfast with Gary Vee is worth $3,000. Probably is. Who knows, right? Because he'll probably record it, put you on YouTube, and you'll get 1 million views. So I think 1 million views is well worth $3,000, right? But anyway, that's it for today's episode. Again, if you want to join my text line community, 314-370-2871. It's a lot of fun. I'll never try to sell you anything on that text line. Just text that number, ask me any question you'd like to ask, or just say hi and you'll be added to my text line community. That is it for the day, folks. Thank you for joining me. I very much appreciate it. Again, if you like business and technology, smash that like and subscribe button. That's how we'll know that you like what we're doing. Other than that, folks, get to work.